Welcome back to the Truth with Najeh Wilkins, man. We got a lot to talk about today, man. Coming up on the show, talk Georgia Tech, Miami, Texas, Tennessee, Bama, and Georgia. Latest in recruiting, critical stretches of this upcoming season. And we got to talk about the 5 for 5. And Brendan Sorsby is actually screwed. Much more coming up today on the show. Happy Wednesday night, everybody. Appreciate y'all tuning in and tapping in with me. Y'all know it's college football, man. It's my special every single Wednesday night. I'm here for you guys, and we talk college football, the landscape as a whole, any big national news, and we talk about the 6 teams that I cover, and I will be covering very closely this year for college football. Throughout the season, y'all know we'll talk about, obviously, the games, you know what I'm saying, react to them, talk about what went right, what didn't go right, and preview the upcoming matchup that they're going to have this week, in addition to give some game picks as well for the entire landscape. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know how we get down. You know how we get down. All right. But we're going to start the show. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hype the video, man, and join and become a member today. But we'll go ahead and start with the 5 for 5 rule. Okay. So the 5 for 5, right? Big news in college athletics, right? It's not just football. It's basketball. It's tennis. It's whatever you want to think about, right? Softball, baseball, swimming, all this applies, right? And the big news is the Division I cabinet has approved a new age 5-year eligibility model. I cannot talk today. Eligibility model. Forgive me. Eligibility model. I don't know what was going on there. Forgive me for that. All right. Eligibility model. 5 years of eligibility, no red shirts or extensions. Clock starts at 19 years old or college enrollment, whichever is earlier. Exemptions for pregnancy, military, or mission. Okay, so that is pretty much going on. He says, guess we'll have to figure out what to call the official super seniors now. This is still subject to finalization tomorrow. Also, likely to create lawsuits from players who didn't get a 5th year. All right, so that is the latest there, right? And the reason I like this rule coming up because it doesn't give you really any gray area, right? Either pregnancy, military, or mission. It's that simple. But everybody gets basically that 5th year. Right. And why that's important because, like I said before, and I did in the TikTok, you don't always get that eligibility. Like say, for example, if you're a college football player in the first year or whatever you play, but let's just say you're playing special teams, your whole red shirt's gone, right? From that point on, you have the remaining time that you will get. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have, after that, you have 3 years left. I said 4 years, I think, in the video, but there'll be 3 years left, right? Remember, if you burn, you only get 4. And right, you only get that 5th if you go for that degree. Now they're saying 5v5. It doesn't matter if you obtain a degree, whatever it is. Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. But then you go on to the next part, right? So you still get 4 more years. So imagine almost having that extra year essentially to play with, right? If it don't go wrong, catastrophic injury, right? You don't see the field at all. You're still going to get 4 more years after that point instead of the 3, right? Because the 5th year is not always guaranteed you will get it. Now you got the guaranteed of a 5th year, right? It makes a big difference for college athletes, especially because, usually that first year, especially these kids are going earlier now. They're reclassing. They're going in at 17 sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And your body not fully developed compared to grown-ass men you're going to be going up against, right? And you go from the 19 standpoint or whichever is early whenever you enroll in school, right? No extensions, none of that. By the time you graduate, a senior at that point, call it super senior or senior in general, they're 24 years old. 24 going up against 17 is 7-year difference. Your body at 17 is not going to be the same body that's at 24. Your body at 18 ain't going to be the same body that's at 24, right? There's a major, major difference. So I think it's great for the sports. I think it gives you an extra year. You figure things out. If the first year doesn't go good, you need to transfer. You get the 1 transfer, and you can still have that 5 years of eligibility, right? Let's say you burn a year, you still got 4 more years to figure things out. I like it. I think it's great for college athletics, and I think it's going to help both of the sports, and I think it's only going to help with eligibility. And then after that, like I said, no gray area, no 6, no 7-year seniors. If you don't get it done within that 5 years, that's it. 5 years is plenty of time to figure things out as far as college, figure out what you need to do, line yourself up, and do what you need to do. I think it's perfect. I like it. I think they're doing a great job with that. All right, but we're going to leave that there. Let's now go to Brendan Sorsby. Okay, there's a lot going on in this situation, and I feel like there's a freaking development every day. All right, so here is what was said by Pete Thamel. Just in, NFL is declining to hold a supplemental draft this summer, currently leaving 2027 draft as the only way for quarterback Brendan Sorsby to enter the NFL. A letter is being sent to Sorsby and all 32 NFL teams to inform them of the league's decision. Per the NFL's letter, which basically Thamel summed up, says, as Commissioner Goodell has emphasized, participation in the NFL is a privilege that carries with it significant responsibilities, including accountability. By all accounts, you are a talented player with the potential for future success. We encourage you to focus on preparing for possible entry to NFL during the 2027 NFL draft. Right. So that was basically what was said. I think it's right. The season is right around the corner. Got to figure some things out. Very, 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 very important. Right. And then also in it, I want to put what else was said as well before, what I'm saying, we move on from this, right? So this is what I thought was interesting, what Adam Schefter had to say. Now, I'm not going to roll the clip, but he said the league does not want any part of gambling. They don't have enough time to vet it. They don't care that they don't have enough time to vet it, right? That was some of the things that he summed up via the Pat McAfee show. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright or anything, but very interesting to see what Adam Schefter had to say, who's been a long time NFL insider, right? And like he said, I think I'm a paraphrase, but basically, like you gave 3 days. Basically, you no longer want to do litigation against the NCAA, and you decided to enter your name into a supplemental draft, right? And like it says here via the Adam Schefter quote, like you didn't give us enough time to vet it. Like how can you vet something that fast, right? Because we have our concerns about you, Brendan, and we're not going to just approve that and let you go. And that's why I always told Texas Tech fans it's much bigger than just the hatred of Texas Tech. Like it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the integrity. And if the NFL is questioning and they don't want to have someone on draft for you, that tells you all you need to know. At that point, they feel uncomfortable. They don't feel right. And they feel like, hey, we need to go through and vet this whole process, right? We need to go through a whole pre-draft process. We're not going to circumvent and go around, that for you, right? You have to uphold to a protocol and you have to uphold into what the standard of the NFL is to get in. This is a privilege to play for our league, and there are certain things that we have to go through. We got to do our checks and balances and ensure that you're not going to try to do the same stunt in our league. And I feel like the NFL basically just told him, hey, you're going to have to go through the 2027 draft process. That is what it's going to be. We're not letting you in our league this year, and you're going to have to figure some things out, right? And it sucks for Sorsby, but it's a cautionary tale to show you, hey, like, be very careful with what you do. Like, at this point, it's not worth it, right? If you're NFL, it's bad for the league, right? It says they wanted more information. They don't feel like they had time to get it, and so decided to not have a supplemental draft. That's all it comes down to. I can't blame them for it, right? Like that's not enough time for us to vet and to see. And with so much going on, the season's right around the corner. You got mini camps going on right now. They're going to have obviously training camp in July. Like it's not enough time to focus on that, right? And it sucks for Sorsby, but hopefully he gets a shot, in the NFL next year, and he's able to do what he needs to do in order to do that, and hopefully it all pans out. But for him, you're going to be against heightened competition. It could be Arch in that draft, Dante Moore in that draft, Sam Leavitt in that draft, right? I'm obviously missing some guys, Darian Minton in that draft. Like you're gonna have a heightened level of competition. So for Sorsby, I just feel like he missed. And with some of these findings and stuff coming out, just a life lesson, unfortunately, for him. And he's going to have to figure some things out. And this is probably going to be the toughest stretch of his life. It really is probably going to be the toughest stretch of his life, of his career, of what he's going to have to do and being able to get through this point. Not going to be easy. Everybody has tough stretches of life, and this is going to be definitely a tough one for him, unfortunately. And be interested to see how he navigates the process. But I agree. I think the NFL just said we don't have enough time. We need to vet the whole process. And before we allow you into our league, we need to make sure like this will never happen. I think that's what happened with Sorsby. So, in a rock and a hard place, tough situation, but that is the reality of it all. All right. So, there it is. We're going to leave that there. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to Georgia. We're going to move into Georgia. The Bulldogs, right? Hit or miss. I'm not going to go through this whole article. You guys subscribe. But I want to talk about Preston Glasco because this is a name for Georgia that they're trying to get. They've missed on several targets, right? They've missed on Chance Gilbert from East Coweta. I believe they're going to miss on Jaden Appreciation Bailey, who's probably going to go to Clemson. Seth Williams, they're trying to get now from Lakeside. He's going to make a decision, I think, in July, if I'm not mistaken. But it comes down to is they're in a tough situation now. Glasgow is versatile. He can play not just corner, he can play safety as well. He rotates. He does a bunch of different things. He's big, 6'3", 6'4", like it's a big guy. And he loves Georgia. So this kind of, you know what I'm saying, pursuit late, I think, is very crucial for Georgia, and what they're going to bring. Now, I ain't gonna say he's a highly ranked player. He's a 3-star, but kid can definitely do some things, and if he's developed the right way, can be a difference maker. Hard hitter, smart, focus, comes from a winning program in Grayson and won state championships. Right, they're consistently in contention for a state championship, so it's a pretty good program. But I think Glasgow is a name for if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, I think to definitely know. And very high on. Recently took an official visit there, right before the dead period, because the dead period now starts pretty much yesterday or 2 days ago on Monday and goes all the way through July 31st, right? Dead period. Can't have any in-campus visits, none of that stuff. Has to be, I think you can communicate still text, but you cannot have any recruiting activities on campus, have them on campus, none of that stuff, right? So it's going to be tougher to recruit, but if you're Georgia, this is not a bad guy to recruit and try to bring in at a safety spot for you. Still trying to like load some things out. Had a very successful week last week, landing about 4 commits. So doing what you're supposed to do. Now you got to be able to get the next guys to kind of come in there and for it to make sense. So Preston Glasgow is going to be the name to watch for the Bulldogs. All right. Now, as y'all know, I'm going to be breaking down today some of the critical parts of these schedules for some of these college football teams, right? So we're still on Georgia, and a critical stretch I want to break down is going to be this one right here, right? Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, right? Why is this a critical stretch of the season for Georgia, right? Because you look at the early part, okay, you play Arkansas, you play Oklahoma, John Mateer and crew, right? But Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss, that's going to tell you how good Georgia's really going to be, right? Because that's a split. 2 of the games are at home, 2 of the games are on the road, right? Alabama is a team that you throttled in the SEC championship game last year, right? 28-7, I believe the final score was. But they went into your stadium last year and beat you in Athens, right? A few years ago, you played them in Tuscaloosa and you still lost. So during the season, regular season, like Georgia has had their struggles against Alabama. But when it matters and it counts for championships and stuff like that, Georgia has been able to win. But that's going to be a big game on the road October 10th, Saturday, going up against the Crimson Tide, okay? Then you have Auburn, okay? Auburn's going to be a very interesting game. They coming from Jordan here, coming to Sanford Stadium, excuse me. So that was important because it's going to be like, how good is Auburn? Is Auburn actually anything? Byron Brown, Alex Golish, will they be a team that is better than what we've seen in previous regimes, right? Can they take a step forward, right? That's going to be another critical home game. Then you got the Jacksonville game. Obviously, everybody knows about how big this one is. Played after the bye week every single year against Florida, right? So, that's a rivalry you've handled. But everybody's thinking that this might be the year that Florida takes a step forward. This might be the year that Florida makes a big difference, right? This might be the year that Florida takes a step forward with John Summerall as a new coach, doing a good job recruiting, right? Bringing in talent, getting the coaching staff. Buster Faulkner's new offensive coordinator, new coaches, right? Having to earn the Florida Gators logo. They thinking Florida's going to be a little bit different this year. You brought back Jaden Ball. That was a big time pickup for Florida, not letting them go in the portal, right? That's going to be a big game because you've throttled Florida. Can Florida finally turn the tide with a new head coach? Right, what will be the result of that game? That'll be very intriguing to see with the SEC race. Then Ole Miss. Won't be easy. We know a few years ago, Georgia had obviously Carson Beck. They went on the road and ran out the building when they went to, Oxford, essentially. And Ole Miss beat them boys down bad. Last year they won the regular season game against QB1. He's coming back for another year. They lost in the Sugar Bowl when it mattered to get to a semifinals. Right, gonna be very intriguing to see what the result of this game is gonna be, right? Because one can have some implications in the standings, of course, and who gets obviously to Atlanta. So that would be a very critical game going on the road to Ole Miss. So I think that 4-game stretch for Georgia is going to matter a lot, right? You look at Missouri, South Carolina, like you should be able to handle business. South Carolina could be interesting, always going there late. Williams-Brice Stadium on the road is always tough. But that 4-game spot with Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss, who will likely be at the top of the standings, that's going to be a very crucial stretch for the Bulldogs. And they're going to have to, I think, go 3-1 or 4-0 in that spot if they want to get to where they want to go. It's a very critical spot for the Bulldogs. All right. We will leave that there. Continue going. Tyler Younger, right? A new commit for the Alabama Crimson Tide said his physical traits are off the charts. Inside Alabama commit Tyler Younger. Alexa, stop. Tyler Younger's commitment essentially, right? So he's from Great Atlanta Christian High School here in Norcross, Georgia, right? Plays for Coach Todd Wofford. He serves as the assistant athletic director and OC, obviously there. And let's see. Said this is what the coach had to say. He's a freakish athlete. He's 6'5", 232, 82-inch wingspan, and has a frame to carry 250 to 255 pounds. Right, his arms hang to the ground. Tyler has some traits that other top defenders have had. He has an extremely high motor and a desire to be great. His physical traits are off the charts. He's kind of evolved into his natural position of defensive end and outside linebacker. He moved to Georgia from Missouri in 2020 and started out playing wide receiver and safety. Right, obviously retired a few years ago. Saying he's exploded. Coach Walford said of the transition to a new position late in the season. The closer he gets to the ball, the better he is because he's a very physical guy. He can't be as physical as he is, or he likes to be out in space. But when we put him at the end, it is a wrap. We played some really good competition throughout the playoffs, and he just took off. He's been playing tight end for me on offense as well. There were a lot of schools who watched the film and couldn't believe he's only played 5 games at the position. So there it is. Tyler Younger from Great Atlanta Christian. I will say that GAC usually produces pretty good prospects. You look at Drake Quinn, he ended up transferring to Buford. I believe, I'm trying to remember where he ended up. It might have been Texas A&M. I got to go back to see where he ended up, Drake Quinn. But I know he was a Clemson commit at one time. But I think he decommitted and went somewhere else. But they developed him. GAC's always been able to produce the edge rusher position at a very high level. So no, excuse me, no surprise to see Tyler Younger being able to emerge and becoming a guy and being able to go to Alabama. I think he's going to be a very interesting player to watch moving forward. All right, we'll leave that there. Let's go now to the season and let's talk Alabama. Okay, critical stretch of the season for the Crimson Tide. All right, and I gotta definitely go the middle part of the season. Same thing, right? Talked about Georgia. They gotta play obviously Georgia October 10th, right? Then at Tennessee. That game's always a toss-up. Now, Alabama has won and been very dominant, right, in that series, but you never know. And I think Tennessee's going to be much better this year. Going into Knoxville, that could be a night game, 7:30 kick. Those games always give thrillers, right? A few years ago, Bryce Young, Tennessee, they lose late in the game, right? Those always give thrilling matchups. So that's not going to be easy going on the road there. Then you got Texas A&M. The Aggies look much better under Mike Elko. They've been doing their thing. Much better program, much better team. They should be pretty good next season. Marcel Reese comes back. Mario Craver. They're going to still have a pretty good running game. Stout defense. They lose some players like Nick Scorton and several others. But Texas A&M and the Aggies should be very good. Aaron Gregory is the young whippersnapper to watch out for the Aggies. Then you got LSU, right? New regime. Rivalry renewed, right? Having to go to Death Valley. You've won there. You've had success there. Right? Dylan Milroe popped off there a few years ago. Can you do it again? Right? That's going to be a very important game on November 7th before you play kind of Vanderbilt, Chattanooga, and then obviously the Iron Bowl. So that 4-game stretch for Alabama is going to be crucial. Can you win enough games? Can you come out on top? Can you go 3-1 during this stretch? Right? Because the first part of your season, you feel good. You should be able to beat East Carolina. Will Stein's new head coach for Kentucky. You should be able to come on top and win that. Florida State, everybody's expecting to be bad. Maybe they turn that on the head and they're good, right? And then you play South Carolina, a team that you've handled for the most part the last few years, right? But a big year coming up for Shane Beamer. You should be able to handle business, all right? We'll leave that there. That is Alabama, critical part of, obviously, their schedule, okay? Now we're going to talk about recruiting a little bit with the Tennessee Vols. All right, so we're going to go Casey Barner here really quick. Okay, so Casey Barner, as you guys can see, he recently dropped his top 15. Okay, so here's the top 15 for Casey Barner, right? Where is home? His top 15 includes Miami, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas A&M, USC, Georgia, Texas Tech, Indiana, Alabama, Texas, LSU, Oregon, Notre Dame, Auburn, and Oklahoma. Still very early in the process, to be honest with you guys, but obviously he's trying to kind of narrow down the teams. You know, he has over 40-plus offers, doing his thing at McEachern, you know what I'm saying? And obviously he's a dynamic athlete and player on the gridiron, right? But things that stands out to me, top team in the state of Georgia, Bulldogs are in the race, obviously. And then you look at Miami, we know what they've been able to do last few years recruiting the state of Georgia. They are in there. And then obviously Tennessee. Tennessee is a very is a place you can go and you can play early, especially if you can hoop. And we know that he can play, he can hoop at a high level, especially on the gridiron. So him having Tennessee in there, that's going to be very interesting to watch if they can land a 5-star. It feels like every year Tennessee at least gets one of them. And it'd be interesting to see if they can close that pack down a little bit. Can they get them on campus for a visit? A lot of big games, Texas, Alabama coming to Knoxville. Can they get them obviously there? But I think it's very good to see Tennessee on this list for one of the best safeties in the country. All right. We will leave that there. All right. Now we're going to go to Tennessee. Okay. So, critical part and juncture of the season for the Vols. Hold on. I want to make sure I have this right. Okay. Yes, I do. Okay. Make sure you guys can see. Okay. So, what's critical? And I could easily go right here and stay in the middle of the season and say Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama, South Carolina. But I'm not even going to do that. I'm not even going to do that on this one. I am going to go the beginning of the season. Right now, you can even make the argument the last part of the season with Texas A&M, LSU, and Vanderbilt is going to be very important because lost to Vanderbilt last year. You're going to have to be able to win that game. Got to go to Vanderbilt. Texas A&M, you got to go to as well with the Aggies. That's going to be a tough game, but Tennessee, you got to be able to win. And then versus LSU, right? That one is definitely up there. But I'm going to go to the first 4 games. And the first 4 games are important. It ain't like it's great competition with Furman and Kennesaw State, right? 2 kind of just games you got in there. But you got to win, and you're going to have to go 1-1 in that stretch or 2-0 against Georgia Tech and Texas at 12, right? Now, Georgia Tech's one interesting. Some Tennessee fans are going to feel like, nah, this should be an easy win. But I think Georgia Tech and Coach Key, they've been writing that ship, won 9 games last year. New regime, obviously, Alberto Mendoza, Justice Haynes. They got some dogs over there, man, that can play at a high level. They converted Dalen Pitson from cornerback to wide receiver, right? They got that defensive line is a damn problem nobody knows about. Noah Carter, Jordan Walker, you know what I'm saying, in the interior with Christian Garrett and Tawfiq Thomas, great linebackers, good defensive coordinator, Jason Seymour. Like, that's going to be a critical game, man. And if Faison Brandon's the starter, is he ready for them primetime lights? Right? Because 3 or 4 games for Georgia Tech starting out as in prime time, right? That's going to be a very crucial game and could determine how good Tennessee is this year, right? Then you go to Texas, another critical game for the Volunteers, right? That one really proves, hey, we something serious. What's something serious? If you can beat them at noon, right? And keep word on serious because Texas, especially being a national contender this year, they got a tough schedule too, right? Week 2. They got Ohio State. Talk about that more later on the show. But they got Ohio State, right? So what better way to send a message that, hey, we ain't coming here to play than against Texas at home. Noon ABC. There's going to be plenty of eyes on that one, right? Can you rattle Arch Manning? Can you make him uncomfortable? Can this offense roll? Can Faison be ready for another big time game, right? Can you run that rock with Deshaun Bishop and Javon Gordon, right? Can his defense get them stops? That's gonna be a critical game at noon on ABC. That one right there. Yeah. This gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good game. So Tennessee, if you can start off that first start of the schedule 3-1 or 4-0, you sit in a really good spot. Yeah, you still got to play Arkansas, Bama, South Carolina, right? And then the end of the season is going to be critical too. But it's all about the start. It's all about the start. If you can start off that regular season the right way, set the tone instead of going 2-2, you sit in a good spot. You got a little bit more wiggle room, especially in the compact and tight SEC. All right, we'll leave that there, man. Let's keep it rolling and moving. All right. So for Texas, right, I talked about last night. I did a whole film breakdown on this kid, on Kyron Brown. So I won't be long-winded with this answer because I broke down the film, said everything I thought about this kid. But Texas gets a 3-star wide receiver, and I'll just be real quick on this. Very underrated kid, hidden gem, very hidden gem. Right, if you guys want to get my thoughts on it, please go watch that from yesterday. The film breakdown I did. The kid can go. Great size, great strength, good athleticism, dangerous in the open field, and he's a guy who can move all over the field. Give him handoffs, reverses, all kinds of things, and I think he's going to make a big difference for Texas in this offense. It's going to be slept on, but he should be a very, very good player for the Longhorns. Slept on guy, but he can play. Go roll it. Guys, want to check out my full reaction? Go to yesterday's video and see what the hell I'm talking about. All right. Now, let's stay on Texas, and real quick, we're going to talk about this matchup that they got week 2. Okay, now it's already been said about Texas trying to get revenge, right? And it's a big game. 7:30 ABC. Hold on, this thing is going. Oh, we got a commitment. It's already been said how big of a game this is for the Longhorns, right? You want the revenge. Art struggled. Ohio State defense dominated. You need to come out with a win in this game, right? And what better message show that you for real and you serious for Texas by winning this game? To me, it's going to start with, can the wide receivers win on the outside? Can you cook their cornerbacks, right? Can Arch make the plays necessary to do that? If they take away the running game, which should be much better this year, you brought in a better offensive line, Trevor Gooseby. You can run the ball with Leek Brown and Hollywood Smothers. If they shut that down, can Arch make the plays on the outside, right? That's going to be a key play. Then, 2, can the wide receivers win on the outside as well? Because to me, your defense last year really won you that game. They did all they could in that one. And I think the Texas defense should be even better with Will Muschamp as defensive coordinator, right? That's just the bottom line. Your talent is off the charts. You got Colin Simmons, right? You got a good secondary. You got Grayson Littleton. You got young freshman whippersnappers is ready to come in there and set it on fire. Defense should still be good. Can Arch make the winning plays? And if you need a game-winning drive, can he do it? That's going to be the key situation there. And you're going to have a game plan for Jeremiah Smith. And I'm going to say this now. You better not sleep on Chris Henry Jr. Because if you put all that attention to him, you don't got to answer for Chris Henry Jr., it could be a long damn day. That's just an early preview. There's going to be some early things to watch for in that game if you're Texas. But you're going to have to handle your business and be able to get that done. Period. All right. We're going to leave that there. Okay. Let's go to Miami Hurricanes, my Miami Hurricanes, before we wrap this up. All right. And then obviously Georgia Tech. Okay. So Miami is battling right now for Eli Woodard, right? They're battling California, UCLA for the Temecula, California Chapel wide receiver. Okay. He's set to make his decision at some point in this summer. Miami seemed like clear team to beat for Woodard following his decommitment from USC. However, the race has really, really tightened up. The official visit is now over. The recruitment just seems like a toss-up. Woodard liked his time at Miami on his official visit and knows the Hurricanes have just one wide receiver commit this cycle. He also is close to a 5-star Miami cornerback commit, Dante Wright. However, Cal offers an opportunity to stay closer to home, play with his high school quarterback and Bears teammate or Bears commit, Dane Weber. And it's an easier path to early playing time. UCLA is an interesting wild card as well. But this one remains a close Miami versus Cal battle. I wouldn't lean one way or the other right now. I will say that I expect the decision to come at some point in the next few weeks. Harris Biggins. I've always thought Miami was the best fit. I feel like he sees himself playing on that stage for those coaches and competing for national titles. But I feel like if this was going to happen, it would have happened right away. I think Cal may be trending. I don't know about leading, but they have a lot of the momentum. It's closer to home, and he loves the wide receiver coach, Ike Hilliard. Early playing time is easier there than Miami. His quarterback, Dane Weber, is a big deal. They have chemistry. That's what Cal is pushing. UCLA made a run this past weekend. I don't even think he was going to make that visit. He told me now a toss-up. He loves UCLA. He loves Bob Chesney and has known their wide receivers coach, Colin Lockett, since he was a freshman. He said location doesn't matter. Being in LA for marketing opportunities is a bigger deal than being close to home. That's kind of where it's at. I don't know. I don't really have a good feel, to be honest, but go right now, it says between Cal and Miami. I think it's probably 50-50. There it is, right? That's the expert roundtable between Miami and obviously competing for receiver. And for the Hurricanes, who's done a great job in the 2027 class, right? They want to bring in wide receivers. Only one committed this cycle. Got to bring more guys in there, especially if you're going to continue to compete for championships. Eli Woodard is really good. Can they do enough to bring him in and land him? I think the big competitor will be Cal. Cal is on the uprise. We saw the transfer portal frenzy. We saw how much better this class has been as far as 2027 and 2026. Cal is on the rise. So for him, staying home, playing with his quarterback, Dan Weber makes sense. But can the Hurricanes do enough to get him away from home? A lot of marketing opportunities at Miami as well. All right, let's talk about Hurricanes. And let's talk about a critical stretch of the season. Okay? Now, for the Hurricanes, the critical part of the season to me is going to come towards the end. Most people are going to say right here, Clemson, Florida State, Pittsburgh. No. It's going to be, to me, Notre Dame, Duke. I don't know why it's buffering like this. Come on. Notre Dame, Duke, Virginia Tech. That's the critical juncture of the season, right? And the reason it is Notre Dame is going to want to get at you. Revenge. We want you. We want blood. We want the Miami Hurricanes. We're not playing with you. All right. You knocked us out of the CFP last season. We want that smoke. And it comes later in the year, right? Last year was a season opener. This one comes all the way on November 7th. So you know Notre Dame, late game, only 4 games left in the year. They going to want that action. CJ Carr, you know what I'm saying? Malachi Field, them boys going to want that action. So it's going to be a very interesting game for Miami going out there and going all the way up to South Bend. But you better buckle up, better be ready to go, right? Duke, home game, but there's a lot of there's going to be some animosity in there, right? Manny Diaz, he used to coach at Miami, went up to Duke, had a success, won the ACC championship. He comes back to where kind of he built his name. Darian Mensah, right? Transfers from Duke, leaves Duke, and comes to Miami. Got paid a lot of money on to come to Miami. Cooper Barkate left also with his teammate and came down to Miami, right? So there's so many storylines in that game, and you can get psyched up and forget about the importance of the game and all that good stuff. That's going to be a very critical juncture of the season for Miami and going up against Duke. You might, Duke's not going to be good. Walker Egan, that's the type of matchup you can mess around and lose in Miami if you ain't careful and you ain't focused. Very, 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 very critical game. Now, the good thing for the Hurricanes is your last 3 games of the season is at home, right? So you in a good spot. Outside of Notre Dame, you handle business. You come back to Coral Gables, and you ain't got that many road games. The only road games this year is Sanford, Wake Forest, Clemson, North Carolina, Notre Dame, right? Pretty favorable home schedule this year. Then Virginia Tech. I think a team will be much better this year under head coach James Franklin. It'll be a respectable ACC team. Can't sleep on them. Got to be ready to go, right? That 3-game stretch is going to be very important for my Hurricanes. If we can handle business, we should be in that position to lift the ACC crowd and go to Charlotte. But if not, it can be tough and slim pickings. Going to have to handle our business. But that's a critical part of the year for my Hurricanes. All right? There it is. Okay, now let's talk about the nitty-gritty. Let's go to Georgia Tech. All right? And there's a couple targets on par for these Yellow Jackets, right? And the 2 targets for Georgia Tech is Dewey Young and Kyle Johnson, right? And if you Georgia Tech, it comes down to who would you rather have? And I'm gonna be 1,000% real with y'all. Dewey Young is a good prospect. Dewey Young is a good player from Michigan, up north, 4-star caliber prospect. Very big upside, could do a lot of different things well. I like what he can do, right? Georgia Tech's warm on him. We got South Carolina, Colorado, Vanderbilt. Now, we know this week that also Kyle Johnson is going to be making his decision, right? But who would you want out of these 2? 6'5", 280, pretty good film. Great player, plays up north, right? Georgia Tech's in the conversation, right? You already got 2 tackles committed, though, Joshua Salmon-Pell and Braylon Mills, right? I just feel like for me, if I'm Georgia Tech, I want Khalil Johnson, right? I want KJ, right? And the reason I want KJ is the upside. Y'all saw the interview on my channel. Dude wants to win. Dude is smart. Dude has good IQ, right? Does it for the right reasons. Wants to be great. So I heard the interview. He said, hey, I want to come there immediately. Even if it's not the first year, but I'm going to be playing by year 2. You best believe that. I'm going to be playing. And that's what I love about this class for 2027 for Georgia Tech is these guys have the mentality you need in order to be special, be great. And Kyle has that. And you can't replicate 6'5", 280. You do 6'7", close to 300 pounds. Massive. Moving people, right? And if I'm Georgia Tech, this is who I want, right? And he's trending towards Ohio State. Right? Number 91 overall prospect, 25 offensive tackle, number 10 in Ohio. He just has more upside to me. And the thing I love is he mirrors what Georgia Tech wants to do. And what Georgia Tech wants to do is run that football, right? And that's the kind of blocking he likes to do. That's the kind of blocking he likes. So I think for me, this is a knock it out of the park get if you can land him, right? And over Dewey Young or Kyle Johnson, I'm going Kyle all day long. I'm going KJ because his upside, his demeanor, his nastiness, his ability to finish you is what you're going to need as a staple tackle for years to come. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And I think he has everything you needed at that spot in order to be good in the league for a long time. So if I'm Georgia Tech, just telling y'all who I would want. And I would want Kyle Johnson over Dewey Young. Dewey Young's good, but that is who I would want. All right. As we wrap up the show, let's talk about Georgia Tech and the schedule. Okay. Now we talked about the critical part of the first 4 games of the season. Okay. It's very important. Very important. Okay. But to me, I feel like that last part of it is going to be very crucial. The last 4 games are going to tell you a lot about the Georgia Tech team, because last year they wilted a little bit towards the end of the season, right? They weren't the same team, weren't the same ball club, went 8-0, and like they ran out of gas. Let's be honest. They like ran out of gas. And it don't get no easier. Last year you had Pittsburgh, you know what I'm saying, in there. Obviously, Georgia's a great opponent. You know, Boston College. Like, those are winnable games. This year, you got it. You got Louisville. You got Clemson. You got Wake Forest. And you got Georgia, the team that's beaten you the last 7-8 times, right? So Wake Forest is a team I think not going to be as good. Gio Lopez, they lost Demond Claiborne, they lost Christopher Barnes, they lost Robbie Ashford, they lost all them boys. I don't think Wake Forest is going to be as good this year. But Louisville's going to be good. They're going to run that ball by Isaac Brown and Kewan Brown and the new transfer, the guy in the Lincoln Keyholds. They going to do what they do. Clemson with Dabo Sweeney, I still think people are sleeping on them, but with Christopher Vicina and running that ball and David Isiemi and some of the weapons on the outside like Brian Wesco, they're going to still be a good football team. And Georgia's Georgia. Like, you had them on the ropes a few years ago in Athens, 8 overtime game, but it's not easy to win in Athens. So if you're Georgia Tech, that 4-game stretch is going to determine your season to me, right? You slip up, but if you win, go 3-1, 4-0 on that stretch, let's just say at that point, before them 4 games, you're 7-1, you know, or you're 6-1, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? If you can win them 4, let's say you go 3-1 in that stretch, you're 10-2, right? Let's say you have a loss before that, you're 10-2. That can get you in. To me, 9-3 ain't gonna get you in. 10-2 with 11 Power 4 opponents. If you beat Tennessee, let's just say you beat Tennessee earlier, and you lose to Georgia, that gets you to Charlotte. Automatic booking, automatic bid. You know, that helps you out a lot, right? But if you lose, if you have a sub, if you have a 500 record or sub 500 record, it's over. It's over. And all them games is easy, and it's split. Home Louisville at Clemson, home Wake Forest at Georgia. You're gonna have to do something, and Georgia's gonna give you that ability to have that marquee win, right? Louisville's good, Clemson's good, of course. Georgia gives you the marquee, and then that's 2 SEC opponents you beat, right? So that's gonna be a stretch of the season they're gonna have to handle, and it's a reason why Coach Key recruited the way he recruited. He brought in what he brought in because he wanted to be ready for them games late in the year. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. All right. So appreciate you guys tuning into the show, man. As always, trying to grow this thing. Like, comment, subscribe, hype up this video, man. We live every Wednesday at 7. So always tune in for that. Whatever college topics, teams y'all want me to talk about, national news, please let me know, man. I want to grow this thing and be a one-stop shop for you guys, man. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week for the college football show. You know what I'm saying? And thanks as always for being loyal and a very loyal fan base. And remember, guys, as always, peace and love.